up, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
Mellow.
and Rado is a sports podcast where we talk about your favorite sports debates, chat about your favorite sports highlights, and of course, the best sports matchups of the week. And we had some great matchups, Mellow, didn't we, this week? The NFL, the NBA.
Oh yes, even a couple good fights. Max Holloway definitely had
That's
a good
right.
fight. Became Mr. 3000 just this past weekend. Week 10 in the NFL, and obviously just past a month in the NBA. So obviously a lot of good games, a lot of good matchups. And that's what we're here to talk about. That's what we do, and that's what we want to bring to y'all. What about you? You been watching any of these games lately?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been crazy lately. Honestly, I mean even again this week there was a lot of big upsets in the NFL. I mean even in the NBA things are starting to heat
Ooh.
up like we've been seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and like you just said that great fight on Saturday night and the UFC fight night, and there's gonna be some amazing fights coming up in the UFC. I know that, and NBA's heating up, but we're here to talk about the NFL. Week 10
Yes, sir.
is in the books. We're looking at week 11 right now, just coming up, and
Mm-hmm.
we want to look into like some of the matchups looking into week 11 and also recap week 10 real quick, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is exactly what we're here for. NFL. Obviously, like you said, go over the primetime games and the top games of last week. A few upsets on the board. I know those ones you're probably not going to want to talk about.
No, we
Then
know what
obviously after
about.
that, go
We
into
definitely
a
gonna have to
couple
talk
hot
about it.
topics. No, we're gonna have to talk about
Yeah,
it. A couple hot topics, and then obviously after that, some predictions of the primetime games coming in week 11. So yeah, want to just hop right into it? Let's talk
let's
about these
do it.
games from last week. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
perfect, perfect. I'm not gonna lie, man. First game on Thursday was pretty ugly. We had Ravens versus Dolphins. Thought it was gonna be a bounce back game for the Ravens offensively to shell out even more than they did the week before, but I actually wasn't. Ravens ended up losing 22-10. Very rough outing for the Ravens. Uh, decent, actually no, great defensive outing for the Dolphins. Obviously, holding the Ravens to 10 points. But
Right.
it's not even that. I think it was just the Ravens really just didn't know what to do. I don't know how that happens. A lot of games these last few weeks have been severe upsets by teams that should not be winning, and to teams that should not be losing, and this was one of them. Pretty much, Brissett got the start, Jacoby, and he had to come out for an injury, and they had to put injured Tua back in.
That's right.
And that's actually when the Dolphins scored their first touchdown. Besides a defensive interception for six and three field goals, they only scored that one rushing touchdown for Tua. So Ravens defense, it was just a defensive ugly game. Ravens defense kind of did what they were supposed to do. Like I said, that pick six pretty much tore it down. He That was an exclamation point on a great defensive outing for the Dolphins. But man, Ravens did not look good. 10 points. They pretty much couldn't do nothing. Lamar Jackson shot or threw the ball 43 times to
Yep.
26 completions. That is not good. Obviously, we are only putting up like what 238 on the board. Like I said, he needs to throw a lot more. We need to see a lot more out of him. He needs to become a more accurate passer. Obviously, they had no one else step up on the running game. There's pretty much nothing else that the Ravens offense could do. And obviously, the defense tried their best to. I just don't even know how they ended up losing that game because, like I said, the Dolphins really didn't seem to put a great offensive outing out either. It was pretty much the touchdown from the interception that really helped them out. And obviously, when Tua came in, he provided that dual threat and ended up getting a rushing touchdown. But before that, it was just pretty much no one getting nothing on both sides. So that was a very bad game for the Ravens. I don't know. They're not looking. They're like looking great, but they're too inconsistent. Like it's like one week
Yep.
they're on, one week they're
Totally
off,
agree.
and like
I totally
obviously
agree.
they might get to the playoffs, but like that's just not consistent enough to make a run in the playoffs. And like I said, we need to see more out of Lamar Jackson. Obviously he's getting absolutely no help when it comes to the running game. They're not getting no one else going. I don't know if they just don't have the personnel to fit their scheme, or if they're really just not trying hard enough. But you have to be able to be dominant with the run, especially with the quarterback like Lamar. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to see some changes for them in the next coming weeks. Like we're definitely in the playoff push right now. And obviously losing game to the Dolphins don't look good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They definitely got to make some changes for sure. But I mean, you said that you can't figure out why they lost, but I actually figured out kind of why they lost, and I think that a lot
But
of teams in the NFL are kind of starting to figure out the Baltimore Ravens. The scheme that Miami pretty much pulled out was all-out blitz. They were just blitzing Lamar Jackson, and they used like similar scheme to what the 49ers used earlier in the year, and actually what Cincinnati did as well. And that worked against Lamar Jackson. That's worked a few times, even last year when they played Kansas City and Buffalo. Buffalo both and Kansas City both use that same scheme where they just all out
okay,
blitz them, get seven guys and blitz them, and they kind of try to make him throw quick. And when he has to throw quick, he's very inaccurate. Like you read out his stats, 26 for 44. That's I mean he's throwing the ball a lot, but that's pretty inaccurate to
he's
be
not
around
hitting the
50%.
receiver,
You
right?
want to be around like 65% for sure. Plus, I mean, he's not throwing it very deep right now, and that's a problem. Other than Hollywood Brown, they got nobody else to throw it to. This game, they pretty much had to start throwing the ball because they were getting nothing from the run from early on. Like the Dolphins were blitzing so much that they were pretty much holding the box down. And the only thing that I was surprised the Ravens didn't do is they should have done like some screen passes to try to go around the outside and get some of their fast, speedy guys like uh, Cortez Watkins, and Hollywood Brown out there. I mean, we actually watched this game, especially the first half of the game. We watched together, and we saw it was a very defensive battle. Especially
Mm-hmm.
with Jacoby Brissett out there, in Miami, and he was more of a game manager. But I'll be honest, I think that Tua played a little bit better than Jacoby played,
Yeah.
even though they had the exact same amount of yards, same passing yards, 142, I believe, for both of them each. And obviously Tua had the rushing touchdown, but I just feel like Tua, if you looked at his game, he played a little bit better than Jacoby
hmm
Brissett. And for me, I don't even know what Miami is doing with Tua right now. They're benching him, they're getting him back on the field, they're letting him play some of the game because during this game, Jacoby Brissett actually he could have came back in. He wasn't injured. Mike Flores, the Miami coach, he just said that he felt like Tua, had it, so he just left him in the game, even though Jacoby wasn't injured. But if he thought that he had it, then why didn't he start him? That was my issue with Miami. So I don't know what they're really doing. Miami, they need to figure out what they're gonna do with Tua. But as far as the Ravens, you're right. They got to figure stuff out for sure. If teams start really blitzing them like that, then they're gonna have to figure things out really quick because they got like some tough games coming up, and
hmm
they definitely got to keep up in contention with the AFC, the top of the AFC, because right now it's very tight up there in the AFC.
No, the NFC is a real tight race right now for playoff spots. Obviously, they got to show that they can be better against teams like Miami to be able to secure that spot. And obviously, like it's been the story all year, the inconsistency from them. 1 week they're on, 1 week they're off. So we definitely got to see a little more from them. I do got to say, I do got to have a correction. Howard didn't get a pick. It was a forced fumble and a fumble recovery
Right. It
that
was a
turned into a touchdown.
right,
It was a
right. The
fumble,
fumble
not a pick.
recovery. That's right.
Yes, but either way, not a great outing for Ravens. My opinion, not a great game to even start watching the week off with. I was a little disappointed because I thought the Ravens were going to come out and stomp on them. And they ended up losing by 12 points in a 22-10 win, or 22-10 loss, and that's not good at all.
I totally agree with you right there. And I actually, I had the Ravens winning that game too. And I was totally wrong too, because I thought that they were going to come out strong. I thought this was the perfect game for them to come out hot, go on like a 14-0, first quarter, run real quick and try to show off their offense, try to get like some passing yards for Lamar. But he just wasn't getting it because they were just out blitzing him so much. And he couldn't get enough time in the pocket to really move the ball, down the field. So they were relying on those like short passes and very like you said, they're very inconsistent right now, and he's very inaccurate right now. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely we both were wrong about how the Ravens were going to come out. That was just a rough start for the week. But I'll be honest, there was another game I was completely wrong about, another person I was completely wrong about, and that was
hmm.
Sunday night primetime game, Chiefs versus Raiders.
Yeah, man, I told you. I told you about the
He
Chiefs. You
did
can't count
say,
them out.
and
Remember
I'm
last
like,
week?
what? For the last 2 to 3 weeks, I kept saying this is their week, and they may have pulled out a win or two against questionable teams.
Mm-hmm.
But through all those weeks, Mahomes still was just like
He
not
wasn't
doing what
looking
he's
good for
supposed to do.
sure.
And I'm just like, I'm tired of having their fucking back because every time I say this is their week, they do trash. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. This is the Raiders week. You know what? They might come out and win a game. And whew, was I wrong? 41-14. Chiefs came out, scraped them. Raiders just don't know what they're looking like, even without that receiver that they just lost that went to prison. They definitely don't know
Yep.
what to do.
Henry Ruggs. Yep.
So yeah, I almost said sucks, but it is run. So Mahomes. My man pretty much looking like his MVP caliber, 35 for 50, 406 with 5 touchdowns. We're talking
Facts. Nasty.
scrambling, trick plays, uh, deep balls off of broken down pockets. Like he was actually looking like he was supposed to. I don't know how a Chiefs hold that Raiders team to 14 points, but at the end of the day, when Mahomes is playing like he's supposed to, you're not really going to get the ball in your hands much. And when you do, it's going to be you got to shoot it out, try to pretty much uh, play catch up. So it wasn't. This was just a Chiefs game. Like this was just their game. This game was all about them coming out and letting everyone know they still have that potential and they still have a better overall team than most teams in the league. Uh, Obviously, Raiders just didn't know what to do. I was surprised that they were held to 82 yards on offense in the first half.
Offense. Yep.
I think they're
Yep.
like 1 of 9 on third downs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, it was just for a Chiefs defense that don't look too good. Jesus, 82 yards in the first half, like come on. But obviously on the other side of the ball, Chiefs was just hitting on all cylinders. Kelsey got 8 receptions for 119. Darrell Williams had 9 receptions for 101 and a TD, and then Hill has 7 receptions for 83 and 2 TDs. So the ball was getting shared around. Chiefs finally showed their good form. I think they got Hilaire coming back next week or the week after. So it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely looking good for the Chiefs. This was a statement win for them, letting everyone know they're still in playoff contention because this was something that they needed, especially
Right.
against another
Need
team in
that.
the conference. So I was definitely proven wrong, but I'm not even mad. Like, because for God's sake, I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, so let's see it. And they needed that coming to a tough matchup that they got this
That's one
week
of your
coming
Super
up.
Bowl teams, right? Chiefs.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely, they got the talent, in the beginning of the year, I definitely picked them. Um, Now during the middle of the season, I wouldn't have them on top of my list, in their conference. But hey, we'll see how the rest of the season go. But at this point, they aren't even, they're not at top of the standings. They're definitely not top of the East.
Right.
Bills even showing that they're above them right now. Um,
Right. Right.
so we'll have to see when the playoffs come. But it was good to see the game out of them. I was definitely happy to see that. Like I said, the ball went around in a couple different places. On offense, Mahomes looking like his MVP caliber. And the team itself putting up a 41-14 spanking, but look like the Super Bowl team that they just had last year. So that was definitely
Exactly.
a good prime time game, exciting game to see on offense for the Chiefs. And obviously, when Mahomes is playing good, the Chiefs are playing good, so it was definitely good for me to see. Man, that was a good win for me, even though I was wrong about how that was going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a vintage win for the Chiefs, like a vintage Chiefs win, like last
Mm-hmm.
year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like definitely a a team win like that. But I mean, I told you last week. I know we talked about it last week, and we were talking about the Chiefs, and I saw some good things from them last week against the Green Bay Packers. When they were playing the Packers, their defense, even though like remember we were talking about they were playing against Jordan Love, but I still saw some good things from the defense. I thought that they were starting to patch some things up. And this week, you saw they had 3 takeaways, which were huge for them, obviously. And my man Mahomes obviously did his thing. He looked like vintage Mahomes. Was throwing the ball
Mm-hmm.
all over. I loved it. Finally, Travis Kelsey, is back in it. He's been out the last few weeks. I think the last 4 weeks actually he's been out. So he finally got in there and got like a touchdown. He hasn't gotten a touchdown since like last year. So this is definitely huge for him to start, playing better. And the Chiefs, honestly, they're starting to look better and better as we're watching them. Like obviously they didn't score many points last week against the Green Bay team. It was more of a defensive battle, and this one you see that they're still able to score points. They have the team to score points right now. Obviously, even Hill wasn't the top reception getter. Even
Right.
with that, they're still able to score points. They still got other guys that can score. Or once they get Hilaire back, I think this team is definitely going to be one of the dominant teams in the AFC, because right now in the AFC, I don't really see, other than even the Titans and the Bills, like I don't see a really dominant team there. And I think right now, it really counts. Like if you're able to play good now, when the season starts getting like a little bit colder, a little bit harder hits, teams are starting to, get some players back that, they were losing in the beginning of the season. We'll see like how the rest of the season unfolds. But I'm actually pretty high on the Chiefs, to be honest. Like I would bet on them to do some things, because a team that gets hot in the middle of the season or towards the end is always scary. And that's kind of what they're
Yeah.
doing right now. They're beating pretty good teams. Like the last two teams they beat are probably going to be playoff teams. I mean, I'm not really sure about the Raiders because they could just dismantle. And you just said like, Henry Ruggs, they're missing him. Obviously, John Gruden is gone. They're missing their second wide receiver
Henry.
as well. Yeah, I mean, and Derek Carr, he had a really bad game as well. And I don't know, he once he throws like one interception, I feel like he just can't get it out of his head, and he starts doubting himself, and he won't throw it deep anymore. And that's what kind of happened in this game. I noticed like even when they were down by 3 touchdowns, and you would think that they would start like kind of throwing it deep, he was still doing check downs, throwing a lot of check downs, which I understand if like there's no open receivers, but there was a few times the announcers talked about it and they were like, yeah, there's some receivers like open and he just won't throw there. And for me, like that's gonna be a problem for Derek Carr. So I'm not sure if they're even gonna be able to make the AFC playoffs, because right now the AFC is stacked. There's 12 teams
Mhm.
right now in the AFC out of 16 that are over 500 record. 12 teams.
Mhm.
It's crazy. That's unheard of over week 10. That's never happened. So right now it's tough out there.
No, for sure. That AFC is not looking easy. These games are going to count. Raiders don't really have an identity yet. Halfway through the season, they're still pretty much doing what they can do to string out wins, and that's not going to win because they're not looking too good. Like you said, Chiefs. If they can ride this and keep moving forward, keep progressing, and getting better as a team than they been in the first half of the season, then yeah, they definitely have the potential to make some noise, 100%. So yeah, I definitely would like to see a little bit more of that out of them, honestly.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, they got all that damn talent, so let's see you use it. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely a fan. I'm definitely a fan of the Chiefs actually playing to their potential. So yeah, that's something I hope to see too for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like this is a game that this game they showed that they pretty much have it on offense and on defense if they put it together, but it's if they can do it consistently over a whole season. This season they haven't been able to, but if they can do that like through the rest of the half of the season and playoffs, then that's, they're definitely a team that could, scare people. I mean, right now if you look at the playoff bracket, it's early to look at it, but still I'm looking at it, and they're a 6th seed, and I would want to play the Chiefs as a 6th seed. I definitely wouldn't want to play them. It'll be
No,
like a
I
three
hear you.
versus six game. Like I wouldn't want to play them.
No, definitely. I definitely hear you. So yeah, that was a great game on Sunday night to cap the Sunday games. Pretty much leading into what we had was the one game left for the week, which was our third primetime game. Probably the one game you don't want to talk about. Rams versus 49ers. I will tell you. I will
Yeah.
tell you. I know we talk about fantasy football a little bit. In one league, I'll be honest, I play you next week, and I'm a little worried because my undefeated streak of 10-0 is at risk. And I thought I played you already, so I'm pretty tight because I really thought I played you.
Right, but you
And I
lucky
played.
because my Rams got a bye, and I got Stafford and Cup on my team, and they both got a bye. So you got lucky, boy.
I looked at that this morning, and I was like, "Thank God, thank God."
Yeah.
So definitely, I'll be honest, Debo Samuel saved me. I was definitely this close to losing my undefeated streak, but that Monday night game definitely
Yeah.
came
Last
through.
touchdown he had.
I would say even Kittle came out and showed out. But I'll be honest, that was a 31-10 spanking by the 49ers. and it was really just it wasn't even the offense that showed out. They did what they were supposed to do. But at the end of the day, it was the San Fran defense that finally had a real statement game where they pretty much show that they can be that that team. I don't think they can, but they came out and they played some good football on Monday night. Jimmy Ward, two interceptions, one for a TD. Obviously, that helps a lot when you got that happening. Jimmy Garoppolo did not play that great, but he put two TDs on the board, 15 for 19. But pretty much something I was looking at coming up to this game is the 49ers have been really trying to establish the run again as their identity. And I think the coach set a 40 run goal for the week, and
Yep.
they pretty much reached it.
About that.
Debo Samuel had a rushing touchdown, had a receiving touchdown. They pretty much had Eli Mitchell go for 91 yards, Samuel one for 97 and one for receiving, and then 36 and one for rushing. And then obviously, like I said, Kelsey came back, did what he was supposed to do, had a great game, and pretty much it was just a statement win for them. Rams, I don't know what happened. Obviously, OBJ just got acquired. It looked like he's going to pretty much be taking the place of injured Robert Woods. That looked like he's out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
So the
He's
Rams
gone.
should be in their hands. Obviously, he didn't play that big of a factor, seeing as he just got acquired a few days before. But either way, besides Cup getting another 122 yards, the rest of that team did not play that well. Obviously, they only put 10 points up on the board. I don't know what they were doing. It seemed like the play call wasn't working. Stafford was getting disrupted all night.
Yep.
The 49ers defense really just applied pressure on him. Obviously, they got those two picks. So I don't know. They pretty much did what they were supposed to do by establishing the run, playing tough defense, getting a lead, building on that lead, and pretty much that's all they needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, especially establishing the run. They looked amazing on the run. Eli Mitchell played amazing for the 49ers. And I'm really disappointed in my Rams actually because really all year
Yeah.
we've been playing the run pretty well. Like that's the one our like playing the pass we were a little iffy on. I mean, obviously we got Jalen Ramsey on one side who's playing man to man pretty well, but other than that, like we were getting a lot of yards passed on us, but we were always playing the run pretty well. It was tough to get 100 yards on us. They were only the second team to get over 100 yards rushing, you know, total rushing,
Mhm.
with the running backs. And so I was definitely disappointed in that. But honestly, I'll tell you why we lost that game. And I watched that whole game, and I was very disappointed because there was a bunch of third downs that it wasn't really it wasn't the defense as much. Like as I saw a lot of the Rams receivers, they just dropped balls. Like it was a lot of drop balls. Like at first, the first quarter, it was Cooper Cup, who even though he had his yards, he had 120 with like 10 receptions. The first
Mm.
quarter, he missed two crucial catches. It was a third and 11, and he was like on a 15-yard comeback route, and he missed it right in his hands. Like it just bounced off of his chest. And then another one, which was the next drive, it was a third and 7, and it was a little deeper pass. He was probably going about 20 yards deep, and it pretty much went right through his hands. But it was definitely a catchable pass that he's called before. And there was a few plays like that I saw. Van Jefferson missed one later in the second quarter when it was 17 to 10. He missed one where it was third and 7, and that could have moved the drive down. They were on the 40-yard line, moving it forward, and he missed one. So that was like another one that it was a lot of third downs that we missed. I think we were only 3 for 14 on third downs, which was pretty bad, for a Rams team that scores a lot of points and moves the ball down the field. Especially with now that we got Odell Beckham and you see what type of team we're running, we're going to be more of a passing team. Our running back, obviously, he got injured in the beginning of the season. Right now, we got Henderson running it, who's doing a decent job for a backup, but we're just going to be a passing team. We're going to try to play the spread offense and have 4 wide receivers, 1 tight end out there, and try to just pass a lot, fling it all around. But this game, like you said, like the protection wasn't there. They were getting a lot of pressure on Stafford. Bosa was definitely doing his thing. He got a lot of pressure on Stafford, and I think that part of some of the defense did very well. Like Josh Norman, he played a pretty good role against the second wide receivers that we had, which was Van Jefferson and Odell Beckham, who played as a second wide receiver. So he played that role pretty well. But as far as the whole defense, I don't think that the 49ers played a great defensive scheme. I think that the Rams just missed a lot of opportunities. And it's tough for me because sometimes teams have those type of games where they'll just like miss one or two and then just get demoralized and start missing like four, five, six different, plays. And it kind of looked like that. Like they just got demoralized in the beginning and then they just couldn't keep come back. And obviously, that interception, the pick six, was pretty much the ender. It pretty much ended the game. There was no way that we were coming back after that one. So I feel like there was a lot of missed opportunities on the Rams' part, and that's why I'm not disparaged that much. I think that we're still a solid team in the NFC. I think that we're still a Super Bowl contender, and we could talk about that later compared to like the other NFC teams. But I see a lot of good things about my Rams this week. It was just a bad week for us.
No, I definitely see that, and obviously, I feel like every team that's a contender right now has had at least one or damn near two bad weeks where they pretty much gave up games and didn't look like themselves. So it's no different for the Rams. I don't think this loss necessarily just throws them down in any rankings or anything like that.
Right.
Definitely still think they're a Super Bowl contender, especially since they were able to replace Robert Woods with Odell Beckham. So that really just helps plug in that hole. Obviously, they just acquired Von Miller, so
His
they got a
first game
couple
playing
things
as
to
well.
figure
He
out.
played this game his first time. He didn't get that many snaps. I think he only played like 13 snaps. So next game he should play a full game.
No, exactly. They definitely will get both their new stars up to speed. So they got some growing to do. But definitely think that this was just a off week for them, and they definitely should bounce back for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. Like, if they were to get beat like offensively, and it was a high scoring game offensively, then I would say that like yeah, the other team just played better. But like you said, Garoppolo didn't play well. It was really more of a running game, and the running game really came in the second half when they were already leading. So they were getting a lot of those runs to try to seal the game. But it just looked like a game where we just missed a lot of opportunities. We could have scored a lot more points. This game definitely
Hmm.
could have been a lot higher scoring for the Rams and a lot lower for the Rams. But it's the NFL. It happens. Any week
Exactly.
anyone can really win, and it's
Any
tough
given
to.
Sunday.
I mean, especially it's tough to see them lose because they just acquired all this talent. But it's gonna happen. They're gonna try to get things together, get things worked out, come back strong. Right now they got a bye week, so they're not coming back until 2 weeks. And I think all their guys are gonna start learning the offense, especially Von Miller and Odell Beckham. They'll be ready to go, learn the playbooks.
No, I definitely agree. I think having that bye week is gonna really help them, and they gonna come back out pretty much hot, ready to go. So I agree with that as well.
Yeah,
No,
hope
definitely.
I hope
So
so. I'm hoping.
no, of course you hope so. You want them. Hey, at the end of the day, I think with these two requirements, even with the losing Robert Woods, they're still a Super Bowl contender with the team that they have. So they definitely got to pretty much show that they can do that. So I'll definitely agree with that for sure. So that was the three primetime games. Obviously, we had a few other games we wanted to talk about. The first one was honestly a game that was supposed to be exactly what it was supposed to be. 45-17 ass whooping that the Bills handed out to the Jets. Bills
Yes,
defense came out and showed why they're top of the league. Even if it is against the Jets team, you know what I mean? It don't matter. They had four
Jets were
picks,
looking
one
good the
sack.
last few weeks.
And exactly, the Jets were coming in pretty hot, thinking they were going to do a little something, something. My man White came in through four touchdowns, and then this game came out and threw four picks. So the Bills defense had four picks, one sack, one forced fumble, held the Jets to 70 total rushing yards, and 3 for 13 on third down. Dominant performance by the Bills defense, which allowed the offense to do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Allen had 21 for 28, 366, two touchdowns and a pick. Besides that pick, he had a very efficient game, moving the chains when he was supposed to. Obviously, very accurate. Accurate. Jesus, still put up 366 yards. So obviously, he just didn't game manage. He actually went out there and did what he was supposed to do. 162 of those went to Diggs. off of 8 receptions with a touchdown. Gabriel Davis had 105 off of 3 receptions. Don't even know how that happens. Obviously, he just got by him. A lot of yards after catch for him.
Yep.
But pretty much the story of the day was the running backs. They had 4 different rushing touchdowns from 3 different running backs and the receiver. That was Singletary, Breida, Moss, and McKenzie, the receiver, all had touchdowns each.
Yep.
So while the running game wasn't dominant, the game scheme and the play call clearly when it came to the red zone was pretty much what it needed to be. Allowed them to get 4 rushing touchdowns on the night. And obviously, like I said, the defense just dominated. So that was a game that we knew the Bills were going to bounce back after a humiliating loss to the Jaguars. So I was definitely excited to see that. That was a good game to watch. I know, us living in New York, everyone loved the Bills. So everyone was very anxious to make sure they weren't going to come out flat against another bad team. Because the week before that, I think they barely won against the Dolphins. So that was a good showing for them, good showing for their defense, great showing for the offense. Oh no, good showing for the offense, great showing for the defense.
Yeah.
And that was just a great game to see that week, especially now the Bills stay in the top of the rankings, and obviously that's another division game that just helps their placement for that home field advantage and for hopefully that bye in that first week in the
Yeah.
playoffs. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. It keeps them in there in the AFC, but also in their division too. I mean, New England's coming up strong behind them too, so we could definitely talk about them later. But I mean, they're keeping up in that division. They're keeping up, you know. But I mean, about the Bills, like they needed this game. They just needed it. Obviously, you said what they did the week before in Jacksonville. They only scored 6 points, and their defense actually played pretty decent against Jacksonville that game because it was a 6-9 game. So they didn't allow a lot of yards as well. But this game, they were able to get takeaways finally, and they're back to their top five defensive ranking. Pretty
Exactly.
much everywhere. Like third downs allowed, passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed. They're top five in all those categories, and they came out this week and they pretty much showed it, and they were doing their thing. Obviously, Diggs had a great game. Diggs had a lot of important receptions. He was moving the ball a lot on third down as well. Um, Devin Knox or Knox, I think Devin Knox, yep, his name is the tight end. He had some crucial catches for third downs where they were able to move the ball in the first and second quarter when the game was still relatively tight. It was a 3-7 game, 3-14 at that point. And the Jets, they couldn't really move the ball forward. It didn't look like Mike White was really on his game. He looked a little bit injured after the second quarter, to be honest. He got hit one time, and when he came back up, he was kind of holding his rib for a second, but then he kind of shook it off, and it looked like he was fine. But he did throw 4 interceptions. He kind of Nathan Peterman that that whole thing against the Bills, and the Bills definitely know about 4 interceptions in the game. But
Mhm.
this time they were able to, get 4 interceptions, which is great for them. Their defense looked amazing. About the Jets, man, I don't know what's gonna happen with their quarterbacks because now they went out and in the fourth quarter they put in Joe Flacco and he was able to get that last touchdown, and he was able to make it look a little bit more competitive on their offense, but it didn't look great. Obviously for the Jets, they got a lot of things to figure out. I don't know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen with their quarterback situation. They got real big problems in New York Jets land right now. I mean, other than a few guys on their defense who are really good, their defensive line. Other than that, they really got nobody. Like Leonard Williams is really good in their defensive line, but other than that, they really got no skill positions, so it's tough for them to really move the ball down the field. And for the Bills, I love what I saw from their running backs. Their running backs look amazing. You pretty much talked about it, so I really don't have to, talk about the stats. They got the touchdowns, but they also got a lot of, key first downs late in the third quarter and late in the fourth quarter. And this obviously it was against the Jets, so they were winning by so much, but it's good practice for teams in the playoffs when you got a close game and you're tied up or not even tied up, but you're up by like three with 10 minutes left to go in the fourth and you're trying to just run the clock out. This is perfect practice for that, and they were able to pretty much run a really long drive in the fourth quarter. They had a drive of 9 minutes in the fourth quarter, which is huge. That's what you need to run a drive down the field and just run the clock out in the fourth quarter to seal a game. And they were able to do that, and that kind of shows me that they're improving as a team. And hopefully they just keep improving like that because their defense is starting to look amazing again. And I definitely like seeing the Bills defense, look like that.
No, for sure. Obviously, when the defense is leading the team, like it has in the last 2 years, and the offense can, have their back, then the Bills are probably one of the most dangerous teams in the league. So it's good to see them bounce back after a couple down weeks. Obviously, with the Derrick Henry going down in Tennessee, and with the Chiefs being a little inconsistent, that that AFC first spot is still theirs to lose. So they got to pretty much show up these next couple of weeks and show that they want it. So this was great, a great first step towards that. So
Yep.
definitely good win for them.
Good statement win for sure. Good statement win.
Yes, for sure. So another statement win, going to another game that we wanted to talk about was Cowboys beating up on the Falcons. Uh, I said last week it was the first time we actually brought up the Falcons in the game, and this is pretty much why. It was a 43-3 spanking. Uh, yeah, Matt Ryan is a dumpster fire. Cordell Patterson has a lot of versatility, but there's nothing else on that Titans, nothing else on that Falcons team to write about. Pretty much, I said Titans. I was thinking about Julio Jones. But pretty much the Cowboys defense. I know you keep sleeping on them, but hey, I keep telling you that that defense is showing out, man. They had their defensive
They
badges
play
on.
good. They play good.
Trayvon Diggs at his eighth interception, going off of what they did on defense: 3 interceptions, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 214 total yards, uh, 1 for 13 for the Falcons on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth. I take that back. That wasn't a forced fumble. That was just a stat from the previous game. But pretty much, they defense dominated and had their lockdown badges on. Offense obviously did what it was supposed to do. Wasn't a great dominant win, but when your defense is suffocating the other team, you pretty much can do what you want. Dak pretty much, for me, the key to the statement to the game was on fourth down. Dak running for it,
Yep.
running over a linebacker
Mm-hmm.
and scoring the touchdown, which is even what he was supposed. He needed the 1 yard, and he scored the
Beast it up.
TD running over. Like when that's happening, you're not winning the game against the Cowboys. When Dak's running over linebackers and Trayvon Diggs is getting picks, you're not winning against the Cowboys. As simple as that. Dak went 24 for 31, great efficient game, 296 yards for 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Both of those ones, Lamb, who had 94 yards off of 6 reception. And even though Zeke didn't have an excellent performance, he only had 41 yards. He turned those 41 yards into 2 touchdowns. So
Yep.
clearly did what he was supposed to do in the red zone. Obviously, play call is so crucial when it comes to NFL games. And as long as you have the personnel like the Cowboys have, you can call the right play call. And like I've been saying all year, as long as that defense keep playing like it should, the Cowboys are real contenders. They're scary. I know this was a trash team in the Falcons, but hey, it's showing what they've been showing us, to my opinion, all year long. So I was happy to see that that's the Cowboys came back. Like it was another team that had a very a bad week the week before. So I was definitely
Yep.
excited to see them come out and do what they're supposed to do against the
Mm.
team they're supposed to do it against. So I was happy for the Cowboys. Love the game I seen all around. Like I said, defense suffocated. Trayvon Diggs is now 8 interceptions on the year. Uh, Dak threw for two, rushed for one. Zeke rushed for two. CD Lamb got one. The only thing I will say, Mario Cooper's starting to window down a little bit. I'm not really starting to see him anymore. Obviously,
Yeah,
I know
man.
he's getting guys best corners every week, which allow a little bit more freedom for
Yeah.
for Lamb. But
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I get it.
That's why.
But either
Yeah.
way, I'm impressed by everything I see from the Cowboys team right now. As long as they can keep being consistent, man, they're going to make a good playoff run. So I definitely like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think this is one of the most complete games that I saw all year from the Cowboys for sure. I mean, other than obviously Zeke not really getting 100 yards, but he still did his thing, like you said, when he needed to. In the red zone, Zeke did what he needed to do. He got the touchdowns when it was
Mm.
a 3rd and 2 third and goal, really. From the 2 yard line, he got the touchdown, instead of them having to kick a field goal early. So CeeDee Lamb had 2 touchdowns, 2 great touchdowns, which they needed that. He's playing amazing. I said at the beginning of this year that by the end of this year, CeeDee Lamb's going to be the number one receiver, and I think I'm going to be right about that. I think that Cooper's going to move down just because right now that they're double teaming Cooper. This is exactly what happened to Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. They were doubling Antonio Brown, and Juju was getting so many catches the first year, but then the next year Juju couldn't do it by himself. So we'll see what happens. At the end of this year if they keep both Cooper and Lamb. I know it's like a long ways away to talk about that, but it's just interesting to see that, right now, like CD Lamb's looking like a top 5 receiver to me, and really Cooper's getting paid like a top 5 receiver right now. So, it's interesting. But they definitely had a all around great game. Like you said, their defense, Trayvon Diggs playing incredible. Leighton Vander Esch had a sack as well. He's starting to play good. He was injured the last he was on IR, so he's been pretty much injured since week 3. And he just finally came back. Leighton Vander Esch is one of their middle linebackers. They're gonna need him. He's definitely a big part of their defense. And I definitely think that their defense showed out. Atlanta doesn't have many skill positions. Like we both know, like Ridley's not there right now because he's got a few issues right now, so he's dealing with, and they really don't have much skill positions, but they also don't have any type of offensive line to protect Matt Ryan. And right now, like Matt Ryan is getting hit all over. He's getting hurried.
Mm.
He had 26 hurries. He got hit 13 times. You talked about the sacks already, the fumbles. So it was just a bad game for the offensive line right there for him. I thought that, as far as the Cowboys offense, though, their passing game looked great. I just want to see more from their
Yeah.
rushing attack. I think the 1-2 punch with Pollard is good, but I would love to see a little bit more from Zeke. Right now his average this game was like 3.5 yards a carry. So that's not the worst, but it's not great. So I definitely want to see more from the rushing game. Other than that, great game from the Cowboys.
That's a fact. Definitely would like to see more from the Russian game, but either way, I was happy with that Cowboys win that I saw. Um, Honestly, I'll be honest. There's a lot of great games this week, but this last one is just the one I was so excited to talk about
Mm.
because your boy is back. Last game we're gonna address is the Panthers versus Cardinals,
I'm
and
back.
I'm back, yo. I love it. I love it. I love it. I am such a big Cam fan. The impact he made, like he said, there ain't no way there's 32 QBs in the league that's better than him. Simple as that. He said it and he meant it. And literally, I can go for hours on, what I have to offer on why Cam is still fucking Cam. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely excited that he came back. Obviously, the Panthers had no fucking idea what they were doing at quarterback. That ended up being a 34-10 spanking by the Panthers. Granted, there was no D Hop, there was no Kyler. So this was another game where they couldn't get it done without their 2 stars. Where last time they did.
Right.
But this time they didn't have Colt QB2 coming in because Cam didn't even get the start. PJ Walker did.
PJ did.
But
Yep.
Cam came in pretty much on the first drive, or in the first quarter, he came in the red zone. First attempt, he pretty much got a quarterback rush, stiff arm motherfucker, and got the touchdown, 7-zip. Next
Easily.
drive, back in the red zone, they put him in again. This time he gets a TD as a throw reception to Anderson. So pretty much it was 14-zip first quarter, 17-zip by halftime. I think 20-zip by halftime because they had 6 points in the second quarter. So
Yep.
goes to show the impact he have in the game, especially in the red zone. He's still a threat. Definitely going to be getting that QB1 start next week. He just wasn't familiar. what's the playbook going on? 100%. PJ Walker is not. I mean, literally came out and scored 2 touchdowns. PJ Walker is not coming out with no fucking start next week. I
Yeah,
promise
I
you.
agree with you, and I hope.
Williams is definitely getting that one, and they want. That's why they even gave him reps in the red zone because they know what he is and what he brings. He just wasn't. He just literally got like a day or two before, so he had no idea what the hell playbook was. So obviously they couldn't throw him out there the whole game, but this week, 100%, he's getting the start. But it was good to see. Like I said, the first two series they put him in, first two plays they put him in, he got 2 touchdowns in the red zone. So right there when you got a team with Colt McCoy playing like trash, and you put up a 14-0 run, and a 17-0 run, and a 20-0 run. Like it's not easy to come back for.
Yep.
James Conner was not running like he should have been.
Yep.
Pretty much that whole offense just looked trash. Obviously McCaffrey did what he was supposed to do. He had 13 for 95 rushing, 10 for 66 receiving. He's obviously that dual threat, holding that glue to the offense together. I can't wait to see him and Cam back together. That's gonna be amazing to see. I love that duo. Um, Carolina Panthers held a Cardinals team. Obviously, it had Colt McCoy, but they held them pretty much to 169 total offense. So not that great showing for the Cardinals. Clearly, they dropped one more game. I think now they're 8-3. But either way, you can't really blame them. That they didn't have D Hop or Murray. But that was more of a statement showing for me for Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. For me, it was
Yeah.
more for Cam than the Panthers because it shows that he's back, and now it shows that he's ready to take the reins again. So we'll see what he brings the rest of the season. I knew that that's what he had to offer. I still think my man can be a successful QB1 in this league. So I was definitely happy to see him come in and make that impact for sure.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, they definitely showed out this week. I mean, it was interesting that they started PJ Walker, instead of Cam, anyways. But the Cardinals actually 8-2 right now. They're one game above the Rams. Rams are 7 and
That was their second loss.
3. What is it? Yeah, that was their second loss. They lost once to the Rams, and then the second loss here. And because they remember
What about the
the last time they had their backup, they won. You know,
What about the
It's-
Packers?
they were 8-0. Then they lost to the Packers, and then this is their second loss right here. They just had.
I thought you said Rams.
Yeah, they beat the Rams. That's who the Rams lost
Oh,
against. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
That's one of the Rams
So
losses
yeah,
as well. So they're above
okay.
the Rams, like in the standings, by that half a game or whatever. But as far as the Cardinals, it's gonna be tough for any team to win without your number one quarterback and your number one wide receiver for sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, you saw they could do it once this year, but against a better team, a better playing team, especially a team with more skill guys, it's going to be tough to do it. And they really couldn't get much done on offense. The Panthers defense played pretty well all game. They didn't allow many throws down the field. The corners were playing very tight defense. They weren't allowing the other Cardinals receivers like Kirk or AJ Green to get open. AJ Green had a few decent catches, but he was like 3 for 35 or something like that. So he
Mhm.
didn't even play that great. But I mean, yeah, Cam, what can you say about him? My man came in the game and just took over. Literally, he came back and he said he's back, and he is back. And
I'm
I'm gonna be
back.
glad to see it, but it's gonna be interesting to talk about, next week what happens with him. Because I mean, I don't know. Like, I hope that they just don't use him as like a New Orleans, Taysom Hill type quarterback and just use
Yeah.
him in the red zone. I really hope they don't. I hope they use him, as a QB1. That's what I think he's gonna, you know, be the best at. And right now, if you look at, the divisions, I think that the Panthers still have a chance. It's crazy, but they really do. They still have a chance out there, especially in their division. You see that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost this week, which was a upset loss for them. Nobody really thought that they were gonna lose, but
Washington.
to Washington, yeah, but Washington has a pretty tough defense. I told you about that defense like earlier in the season. Right now, they're still playing like a top five. But it's a tough division, that NFC South. You still got New Orleans in there. I mean, they're gonna play New Orleans again, and that's gonna be an interesting game. But I'm gonna be very happy to see what happens with Cam. Very
No, for
interesting
sure.
too.
Obviously, he got released by the Patriots after one disappointing season with them. They decided to go with Mac Jones.
A lot of that was
It's been
during COVID, though. I believe.
yeah,
He
it was a
was
lot of
injured
different
last
reasons.
year. He had COVID and he
Exactly.
was injured, and yeah.
So there was a lot of questions on what was going to happen to him. So I'm definitely glad that even after a few weeks, that he was able to get a call back. Obviously he's somewhere
Sure.
familiar like Carolina, where he got his career, and obviously is a legend there. So
Exactly.
that's the
Hometown
recap
hero.
of last week. Obviously, we like to hop into the hot topics, and funny enough, the first question just literally revolves around what we just talked about.
Hmm.
Cam Newton, your boy is
Let's
back.
talk about him. Let's
So
talk about him then.
he have to offer, man. I'll be honest, like I said, I can go for hours on this. The question is, can Cam Newton be a successful QB1 in this league with his return? Me, man, listen, me, when we get into these questions, I like to get my stats. I like to
Mm-hmm.
back up what I want to say. So let me just start, Everyone obviously know what Cam did in Auburn, what he did, coming into the league, obviously the records he broke. But pretty much everyone starts to or attributes the start of his downfall with the Super Bowl loss in 2015, his MVP season, when they pretty much lost to the Broncos. Now, this should give you a baseline of what he did that MVP season. They went 15-1, 296 attempts for 495 yards, 3,800 yards, 3,837, 59% throw in. 35 touchdowns, 10 picks. Rushing, he had 132 attempts for 636 yards and 10 touchdowns. MVP season, he won it that year. Obviously, 15-1 led them to the Super Bowl. Lost to the Broncos, and most people were mad about him not diving on that fumble in that game. So everyone says that was the beginning of the end. He didn't have the mentality to be a winning quarterback, blah, blah, blah. You already knew the stigma that the media already had on him going back to his Florida days, actually.
Yep.
So you already know the story with there.
Yep.
So for me, we can start there. That's now he always had a few injuries before that. But for me and any real person who's paid attention, um, Cam's downfall can just straight be attributed to his injuries. In my opinion, that's how simple it gets, and I'll basically back it up as to why. So after the Super Bowl loss, the next year, early on, uh, uh, probably midway through the season, he pretty much dealt with the rotator cuff that he decided a little before midway through the season. He
That's right.
had that shoulder that he decided to play through the season with.
And remember, they were 6-1 going into that. The end of that season, they were 6-1, and then he had that rotator cuff injury.
End of the season, 6-8.
Yep. They
But
lost their
pretty much
last. They lost the last
going.
7 games. I remember that. Lost their last 7 games in a row.
And that was basically his worst showing, in his year. So that was 270 attempts for 270 completions for 510 attempts. That 59% dropped down to 52 when it came to passing. He had 3,509 when it came to passing yards, obviously a little bit less. But the biggest difference was he went from 35-10 when it came to touchdown and interceptions to 19-14. A very big difference that year. Even then, his rushing dropped down from 90 attempts to 400 yards to only 5 touchdowns. So pretty much big drop in everything. But like I said, he had an injury. Carolina had nobody at that point. He decided to try to play through it and get through that season. Disappointing season. I think once they pretty much didn't make the playoff, he finally got that surgery in March to take care of that shoulder. Then we get into 2017. This is what people love to forget. Cam came back.
Yep. He balled out that season. Beginning.
11-5, 291 completions for 492 attempts, back at 59%. 3,300 yards. Pretty much 22-16. Yes, touchdowns weren't that great, but at that point he pretty much had 139 rushing attempts for almost 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he was rushing a lot more that season too. What a lot of people like to forget is he also had a knee strain with ligaments and cartilage early on in that season. That once again he pretty much avoided the surgery and tried to play through that season. Still end up making the playoffs, 11-5 record. Still had a good season, but obviously he's still being plagued by injuries at this point. After that year, gets that taken care of because it kept swelling up on him. Obviously, the damage is already there. That's when 2018 come. He re-injures his shoulder in the second or second game. Carolina has a very disappointing season, and like a couple games for the end of the season, they just say you're injured, get the shoulder taken care of. It's the same injuries before. You're done. So at that point, this was finally the one time they said, we're not going to let you play through this injury. Like, it's not working out. That year, Carolina went 6-8, 320 attempts for 471 completions, 61%. So obviously, he had a career high in passing, percentage, but he actually threw for a lot less, obviously. And then 3,300 yards. Like he still got the yards, and then 24-13. It seemed like he never was able to produce the same amount of touchdowns. From those MVP years. So that's pretty much where I can say the only drop had was his producing touchdowns, and they can't just be one thing that attributes to that factor. So then that's like I said, lackluster year. They pull him out, say you're done. Next year, 2019 comes pretty much 3 weeks in. He fractures his foot, out for the whole season. That's where his tenure with the Panthers ends. That's where it's on. So pretty much up until then, besides injuries, I have yet to see Cam Newton's skill just deteriorate. Right. Yes, he's been plagued by injury, but he's still showing that he can be a QB1 in the league. That is a dual threat that can do both. Obviously, when it comes to running quarterbacks, you're not going to get the best accuracy, but you also got to build the right game plan around them to make sure you utilize what they can. At the end of the day, Lamar Jackson just won an MVP using the same style. He can't even throw for 300 yards a game consistently to save his life. So you're not going to tell me that Cam is not consistently a good QB1 because of that. So basically, that's my whole thing. Up until he got released from Panther, he has not showed, besides being injured and playing through injuries, that he's just not good anymore. Now, the 1 year I will say he did was the year he went to the Patriots in 2020. But here's my issue with that. A lot of people don't really pay attention to what the Patriots do. For most teams in the NFL, yeah, you might call out the mic, you might call out the coverage, say who you think's the blitzers, but the line and the center call their own coverage, call their own schemes, call their own block. Not with the Patriots. A Patriots quarterback is responsible for pretty much handling all sort of adjustments, even ones that normal quarterbacks. There's literally probably 30 other teams in the league that don't do that either. So right. It's a little different. And he definitely took a while to adjust to it. So at that point, that 1 year with the Patriots, they won 7-8, 242 completions off of 368 attempts, 65%. Still completed decent, but obviously the scheme with the Patriots is so much different when it comes to how they cater to what his skill set was. Only threw for 8 touchdowns this year. That's why I said he couldn't put points on the board. But he still rushed for damn near 600 with 12 touchdowns. Exactly. So he's still a threat, showing that he can do what he needs to do. So for me, that's what I say is only bad year. Minus he had no help receiving. Jacoby Myers, Demir Bird, and James White are not the receiving core you want, or a receiving core that you can do anything with. So then you get to this year, they finally get so many weapons on offense. They got Cam. There's some issues regarding COVID, some issues regarding style. And now they picked up a quarterback, and now there's some issues on. Now you have a team that maybe you might want to build your young quarterback around. Right. So at the end of the day, there might be different factors, but they won't with Mac Jones, release Cam. Clearly, a few weeks later, he got picked up by Carolina. But like I said, besides the type of altering that it comes to playing offense for the Patriots, it's really just not easy. And not to mention, they don't really cater to dual threat running back or dual threat QBs that much. That's not the type of style they really play. Um, so besides that 1 year, Cam hasn't given us any year where he's just shown us he has no skill. So I know I said a lot, you know, but my man just pretty much came in, uh, coming in off the bench. He pretty much had 2 touchdowns off of pretty much what 4 or 5 plays. So I'll 100% say that Cam Newton can and will be a successful QB1 in this league, and I 100% cannot wait to see what him and the Carolina Panthers, especially getting CMC back, now have to offer for the rest of this year. So I'm definitely excited about that. But Cam was never whack to me. The disrespect he was getting, dealing with the injuries, putting up, trying to fight for Carolina, pretty much doing what he can do to help him win seasons and win games. Everyone's just writing him off because he didn't fall on the fumble. It's just straight out of disrespect. Cam definitely, like he said, there is not 32 quarterbacks in the league that are better than him. He
Mm,
meant it. He said it, and he's back, and he came back to show that he meant
mm.
that. So I'm definitely happy for it, but my answer behind that was seemed to be a long question. Is
No, no,
yes,
no. I
Cam
like it.
Newton, QB1 100%. What
Nice,
about
nice.
you? What do you think? Can Cam Newton be a successful QB1 in this league?
No, I mean I loved everything that you said, and I love that you even brought back his history, and you pretty much gave everybody his whole career numbers, and pretty much what's been happening throughout his whole career. His injuries have always been a slight issue with him. Even back in the Auburn days, like his second year in Auburn, he had that shoulder injury. He's always had issue here and there. In Florida it was that he was behind Tim Tebow. Then in Auburn, it was the whole thing with his dad, like in the signing of the shoes and stuff. And yep, the laptop as well. And once he came into the league, first few games he actually tore up the league. Had two 400-yard games right off the bat as a rookie, but then kind of
Throw over 4,000 yards.
yeah, he threw for first quarterback to ever throw over 4,000 as a rookie. Until a few guys did it after him. Recently in the past recent years. But yeah, I mean, coming out, he was one of the best quarterbacks coming in. If you would think he came out looking like a solid franchise quarterback that should lead you to a Super Bowl, and he actually did do that. He led his team to a Super Bowl when they had guys around him. He led his team to a Super Bowl. You saw what he can do. And when he didn't have guys around him, which is the later years of his Carolina stint, he had a tough time. But was it really his fault that their defense was totally disseminated and they had nobody as a running back that could really help him out? They had no receivers. Steve Smith was getting a lot older, and they really had nobody out there. They weren't getting him no help. So it's tough. One thing I will disagree with you on, though, I think that he actually played pretty good last season. I'm sorry, not yeah, last season, 2020, in the Patriots. He didn't play all the games either, and two of those games he had to he couldn't play because of COVID. He caught it, and then I guess they didn't allow him to play for like an extra game because he didn't pass the physical. But I thought that he actually played pretty well. 12 rushing touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at. That's definitely
Exactly.
pretty good. 600 rushing yards. That's not 1,000, but it's not the
For
style that, like you said, like Patriots don't run that style for a dual threat quarterback. And you see what Cam could do. With that type of offense, and they really had no help either. Like you named off the receivers they had nobody for him. So I mean, looking at him right now, and looking at if he starts, the next few weeks, which I hope he does. I hope that they don't use him as, like I said, like a Taysom Hill in New Orleans, and they don't have Sam Darnold starting and then have Cam just coming in for a few plays. I just hope he starts. They give him a chance at least. I mean, honestly, the rest of the season, because if it's not Cam, you're not making the playoffs. With any other quarterback they got on there right now, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, I don't see them making the playoffs. But with Cam, I could see it as a possibility for sure. So I think that, the answer to this question should be that, yeah, I think he is a number one, QB1. He is better than at least 10 starting quarterbacks. I would say like 7 to 10 starting quarterbacks right now. And he could start for about easy 5 teams for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and fight for the
Easily.
position for like 3 other quarterbacks. So he's definitely better than like 7 other guys that are starting right now.
No, for sure. And obviously, like I said, the slander he's been getting recently has been so bad. Because he still got the skill set to succeed, and it's definitely ridiculous. But I'm glad that Carolina gave him a chance again.
Yes,
Obviously, they
sure.
needed someone to come back. It's good, like he's familiar team, familiar faces, familiar home. So I definitely hope Cam's not a stranger to comebacks, and not a stranger to second chances. So even if it's second chance number 8. So I'm definitely excited to see what he got to bring to the
That's
table.
true. And in 2016, I'm the year the after the Super Bowl, they still made the playoffs. They didn't play that well, but the last few games of the season, they went on like a 6 game winning streak with Cam. So he's used to going on winning streaks, making the playoffs in tough times. So, magic could always happen twice, it could always happen. And if they go on a little run right now, I mean, you see Tampa Bay is not, they're not unbeatable, especially
Right.
even in their own division. They didn't play great against Atlanta when they played them. Obviously, they lost a few weeks back. 3 weeks ago, they lost to Atlanta. Tampa Bay did. So, I see, with Cam, I could definitely see them making the playoffs.
No, I definitely think they can make a good push. Cam's hot. He's fired up. He's just ready to go. So I definitely think that he's going to be the person that's going to make some noise for the rest of the season. So I'm definitely looking forward to it 100%.
Me too. Me too. I'm looking forward to it too. That's a
So
fact.
yeah, so like I said, I could personally go on for hours about that.
Oh,
I've
for
been a
sure,
big
for sure.
because I knew what he was basically since high school. Even when he went to JUCO, he obviously got a ring there, so it was good to see him come back
I'm
to
gonna be
Auburn
honest.
after 5 years.
For me, he's probably my second or third favorite college quarterback, and he's up
That's
there
like
for me. Yeah, I mean, I
he's,
got like Tebow,
he,
Manziel, and Cam as my top three. I gotta have them three.
oh my
I
God, you
love it.
got me. Oh, I
In
mean,
college, bro, I'm talking about college quarterbacks. Yo, he
yeah,
beat Alabama. Are you kidding me? Beat
yeah.
Alabama's Texas A&M. Like nobody thought he was gonna do that. He was one of the greatest college quarterbacks, to watch.
No, for sure. Yeah,
Exciting.
nah, I definitely got Cam behind Tebow for me when it comes to college football, and I got him third when it comes to favorite college players because between Tebow, Cam, my favorite college player of all time pretty much is Reggie Bush. Well, second, I'll be honest.
Yes.
Tim Tebow is my favorite college player of all time. Simple as that. I
I gotta give
absolutely
it to
love
Tebow
Tim
probably
Tebow.
too. I think Tebow's
Very,
definitely one of my favorite. I mean, my favorite, yeah.
dominated. Then it goes Reggie. Then it goes Cam. So I've been a big Cam for a long time, so I can't wait to see what he has to offer us the rest of this year.
Yes, for sure. I think he could
So,
definitely come back this season and do some things for sure. For sure.
oh, he definitely will. So like I said, I could probably talk about that for hours, but let's get on the topic. You could probably talk on for hours with our second question of the night. We'll talk about the Rams, obviously acquiring OBJ at the same time they're losing Robert Woods. With acquiring OBJ, they're probably just another step up when it comes to Super Bowl contention. Me, in my personal opinion, losing Woods and acquiring him at the same time basically leaves them exactly where they were.
Mhm.
So the question is now, does the OBJ addition make the Rams Super Bowl contenders? Not just playoff contenders, but Super Bowl contenders.
So,
So like I
yeah.
said, they already were at a certain level. You know, they probably would have been higher if Woods didn't get injured. But now
Mhm.
with Woods out the rest of the year, what do you think?
See, I mean, I kind of disagree with what you just said. With like once with Odell, they're kind of the same position. Losing Woods, I think losing Woods was huge for them. It was huge because
Fell
he
a
had.
little bit.
I think it's a little bit of a dropout, especially because Odell's going to have to learn the system. He's going to have to get like a little bit of a feel with Stafford and Woods and Cup. They hung out in the summer, and just them three, Woods, Stafford, and Cup, and they had like a throwing camp just by themselves. So they definitely had like some chemistry early on. Right now, for Odell to come in, he's gonna struggle like the first few
You're
games for him for sure. So I think it's a little bit of slight drop off right now. But I
right.
think that if you look at talent wise, like Woods and Odell's
That's
definitely
not
got more talent.
That's what I
Right.
meant. Yeah, you're right. Chemistry definitely plays a big role.
Yeah. So for that reason, I mean, I think it's a little tougher, but we just acquired Von Miller as well. Like that's a huge acquisition.
Mhm.
Obviously this week we just lost a tough game to 49ers, and we talked about why I thought that we lost. But I'm just looking at the Rams, and I kind of see a complete package. Like we have what it takes on defense. We have like skill positions all over the defense. We got Jalen Ramsey out there. We still, we got obviously Sue and we got Von Miller. If those three guys on defense could do their thing, I mean, just those guys alone are monsters on defense. Then on offense, we got a number one wide receiver right now, Cooper Kupp, who's been out of his mind, honestly, playing out of his mind, getting 100-yard games every week. Like he doesn't stop getting
Already has a
100-yard
thousand
games.
yards receiving.
Yeah, I think he's going to get that 2,000 easily at the end of the year. He's on pace for it right now. He's actually on pace to get like 2,100 by the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. But, Stafford has a few games where he just like throws some ill-advised throws, and one or two games that he'll just not play like himself, not play like the guy that throws for 350 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So it's really tough to judge the Rams this year, especially because the first year all of them are coming together. It's not like this is a team that's been around for like 2-3 years. Like, you
Mhm.
know, like the Chiefs. I mean, if you're looking at the Chiefs, like they pretty much had all like a lot of the similar players from a few years ago. And yeah, they weren't cohesive in the beginning of the season, but now they're starting to get cohesive. But you can kind of believe in them because you've already seen what they've done in the playoffs. With my Rams, they're just coming together this first season, so it's really tough to judge, and especially with teams in the NFC. Like you got Green Bay that are tough right now. Obviously, Arizona's still tough. I mean, obviously the Tampa Bay, they won a Super Bowl last year, so you got guys like Dallas as well. You can throw them in there. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC. Like the top end teams are really good, and but my Rams, I feel like if right now they can really figure things out on offense, if like you said, if Odell can really step up in that role, like Robert Woods, and he can really use that role to his advantage and have guys double team and Cup, and actually Odell's going to be the one that's open. This is
Mhm.
going to be a great thing for them because they needed that deep threat. Obviously, they had Deshaun Jackson in the beginning of the year, and he had a few really good touchdowns from him. He had like 250 yarders in week 2, and after that we kind of let him go because he didn't really play good at all in week 3, and he got injured week 4, so we let him go. But we needed a deep threat. Van Jefferson's a possession guy, our third receiver, and Cooper Kupp is more of a possession guy too. So you need that guy that can go like really deep and catch it. Like I said, our team is going to be more of a spread offense team. We're going to throw the ball a lot, and I see that's what Sean McVay is like leaning towards. We're only going to be getting like 75 yards rushing a game. I don't see us getting more than that. And sometimes in the playoffs, that's tough because you do need a good defense and good rushing ability. But I feel like if I'm sorry, not Sam, if Stafford plays, lights out pretty much every playoff game, like he gets his 300 yards a game, like he usually does, which is what he usually does, and I think that we could be a Super Bowl, not just contender, but I feel like we can win the Super Bowl this year. That's how good we are. Like I know this game we didn't show it, and this game against San Fran we didn't look 100% great. I just think that there was a lot of missed opportunities this game. When we don't have our missed opportunities, when we get our game plan going and things are actually playing out for us well, we're unstoppable. And I think that we can beat any team in the league.
No, I
What
definitely agree
about you?
100%. Getting the Von Miller addition at the same time definitely helped. I wasn't too disappointed in the game because there's so many teams that are in the top of the standings in their conferences that gave up games, just like the Rams did in the last couple of weeks. And obviously they just lost a key piece and got two big pieces added. So I definitely think that the bye week's gonna really help them. But for me, like you said, OBJ definitely have the skill set to be a QB or a wide receiver 1 or 2 anywhere in the league. Obviously, for me, what really puts them or puts him in the greatest position possible was honestly losing Robert Woods. Pretty much, you got Cup getting 11 targets a game. Woods got 7, and Jefferson and Higby got 5.
Right.
So OBJ is definitely looking at least 5 to 7
Right.
looks a game from a quarterback who can actually get him the ball.
Right.
Obviously, Cup still has to demand the tighter coverage because my man is literally already over 1,000 yards.
Mhm. Crazy.
At this point, um, you said in the beginning that they might have a possibility of getting 3 receivers over 1,000. I said they're more than likely not going to get it, but they were going to come pretty damn close if
Pretty
Woods didn't
close.
get injured. He was
And
at
Van
40
Jefferson's been
something,
playing really good lately too.
and
You know.
he's at four something too. So they had a possibility. So right now, OBJ basically is gonna just stepping in, just in Woods talking about what Woods was getting. He's gonna average pretty much 5 to 7 attempts with at least 60 to 80 yards a game. That's just being in the position of being the wide receiver two
Right.
on that team. With
Right.
his skill set, his ceiling's a little higher. You know what
I
I'm
agree.
saying? So he can definitely do, if that's just bare minimum of what's going to come his way, he's going to do a lot more with that. So I personally do think that the OBJ addition, like I agree with you, it does drop him a little bit. Not I would say skill set wise, it was a good pickup to replace missing Woods. But like you said, chemistry, knowing the system, already being comfortable halfway in the season, yes, that does make him drop a little bit. But also they just picked up Von Miller a week ago, so I would say yes. Not only are they Super Bowl contenders, um, but I think they can win the Super Bowl this year too. Like I definitely think that as well. Like they, like you said, overall they're great everywhere. And here's one thing I definitely want to pick up on. Like you said that they're going to throw a lot more. I think they are as well. Not only because it's getting to that crunch time towards the end of the season, but sources say they promised OBJ 65% throwing and running.
Yep.
That's not where they're actually at.
They're around
They're
60.
just over 50, not
Oh,
even
are,
close.
oh,
They're in the middle
are,
of the league, 55,
okay. Okay.
56. So they're a little bit half
Well,
and
I
half,
thought
but like
I thought you meant for the game last weekend.
they're
My
a
bad.
lot more pass heavy
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. So it's gonna give OBJ a little bit more chance to shine. Having a deep threat, someone who can get behind someone, and obviously someone who could jump up with anyone, definitely provide something that honestly Robert Woods couldn't give you besides that deep threat.
Yep.
So I think it's going to help Stafford because obviously Stafford can place it there for you. OBJ can still go up and get it. So my answer is yes. OBJ addition definitely makes the Rams Super Bowl contenders, even with the loss of Robert Woods.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you in that point right there. Like, the OBJ can pretty much jump over guys, and he has a lot more skill than Robert Woods does. And for me, I think that you're right. By the end of the season, that it's gonna look like OBJ. He is a way better receiver than Robert Woods, and I think that he will get those stats by the end of the season. It's just gonna take time. I feel like this bye week was a perfect time right now. They needed that to get some chemistry, but I feel like it's gonna take like 2 or 3 weeks. By like week 13, he should be getting the targets that you're talking about, like the 7 targets a game, hopefully even more. Hopefully they get him around like 7 to 10. If they get him around those type of
I don't
targets,
know.
it's
Right
gonna be
now, the
tough.
only one over it, like I said, Cup is
Yep,
getting 11.
that's
My
for sure.
man is
But I mean,
averaging.
there was games that Robert Woods had 10 target, I mean, like 10 catches in a few games. So they can always get one guy, focus on one guy one week, focus on the other guy the next week. Teams always do that, especially like when it
But
comes
here's
to
the
like,
thing, when you got defenses covering Cup, I'm pretty sure there was times that Stafford looked Woods' way, and it's like if he's not in a certain position, you can't give it to him.
right.
With Cup being covered, there's going to be a lot more options he have. Like I know I can just throw this bitch up on that sideline, and
I think so
OBJ
too.
is going to be that receiver. So I think it's going to even open him up for taking more chances OBJ's way because he didn't honestly, even though Robert Woods is probably faster, he didn't have those type of chances when it came down to receivers breaking down or being able to be one on one against
I
good
think you're
cornerbacks.
right.
Like so I definitely think it's going to be a different dynamic. I think they're gonna definitely throw a lot more, and I definitely think that this is just the beginning for them for sure. I thought they were gonna be a Super Bowl contender just with the addition of Von Miller.
Right.
Obviously, they would have over the fucking hill if Robert Woods didn't go down with OBJ coming. But
Man.
either way, still a different type of skill set that will allow them to 100% compete for winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you too. And I mean, I just think that, even with Cup getting double covered, he's still the number one receiver in football right now. Like,
Literally,
people know
yeah.
that he's getting thrown to. He's still getting the number one receptions, number one in touchdowns, number one in yards. So ridiculous.
No, definitely. So that's the second one we agree on. We got one more question. We might not agree on this.
Yeah.
So obviously, those are
It's this
talking
next
about
game.
new additions to teams.
Hmm.
Cam Newton, OBJ. But let's talk about people that just been on the same team or that's been doing what they're supposed to do. Or midway through the season, we like to go through some awards, see how our picks are doing, see how the predictions are looking. This week, I want to go over Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, we gave our predictions at the beginning of the year, but this is who you got. So, who you got for mid-season Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, so the beginning of the year, I picked my man Aaron Donald, obviously my Rams. I mean, he's still having a great season. I think he's
Yeah,
playing really amazing. And he's up there for that award for sure. But honestly, the man that I think that everyone should look at, and I actually talked about him in our preseason episode. I talked about this guy. I
you
talked
did.
about him. I remember because I watched Hard Knocks this season, and this was
Yeah,
the first few weeks of the before the season started, preseason games you were watching, and he played amazing in the preseason. And this guy is Trayvon Diggs. I mean, he's been playing amazing. 8 interceptions. He had a stint where he had six interceptions in a row for 1 interception each game in the first 6 games, which is ridiculous for a corner. Only guys like obviously Deion Sanders was doing that, and guys back in the day like Ty Law, he did that once. So there's only a few guys in the league that's ever done that, and I think that I think he's tying or close to pretty much beating almost every team in interceptions except like there's like 10 teams that are beating him just by the team, but he has more
right.
interceptions by himself than over like 20 teams, which is ridiculous by himself right there. He's playing great one-on-one coverage. He's able to play deep as well. Which a lot of cornerbacks have trouble. Running backwards and playing deep. I think he's got to be definitely up there for me right now. He's playing consistent. For me, it's got to be Trayvon Diggs. What about you? Who you got?
No, definitely getting that eighth pick really just puts him in that category. Like you said, it's pretty much a three-man race between him, Aaron Donald, and the person who I picked in the beginning of the year, who I still got. My man's Miles Garrett. The
Yes.
season he's having is honestly
Yes,
ridiculously being slept on.
that's true.
You know I love my stats, so let me just break it down to you because this is, like you said, this year with that extra game, it might help a lot of records be broken. And I think he actually is on pace to break one record this year. So this year so far, he has 34 tackles, 21 solo with 13 assisted, 13 tackle for losses, 13 sacks with
Oof.
24 quarterback hits. 10 games in, 13 sacks.
Pretty good. Pretty
You're
good.
like, here's the thing. That's 1.3 sacks a game.
Yeah,
So that means every 3 games he's giving you 4 sacks.
that's pretty fucking good. Can't
The
lie.
record is 22.
Michael Strahan, right?
If he's on pace, exactly doing what he's supposed to do, he will literally end the season with 22 sacks.
Wow.
I think he has a chance of breaking that record. So now I just read you the pretty much mid-season stat. I think there were 17 games this season. So what the average is, he got 3.4 tackles per game, 1.3 tackles for loss plus 1.3 sacks, and 2.4 quarterback hits. With that average, it's looking like this is how he's going to end the season. 58 tackles, 40 quarterback hits, 22 tackles for losses with 22 sacks, which would be a record breaking. And that's amazing.
It's incredible.
Last year, Aaron
That's a
Donald won
historic season if he
literally
ends up with
historic
that.
season. That's my whole point. Like it's 10 games in, and he's having a historic season, and no one seems to care.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year last year was Aaron Donald. Let me
Hmm.
read you the stats he had when he won Defensive Player of the Year. 45 tackles. Garrett already has 34.
Right.
28 QB hits. Garrett already has 24. And 13.5 sacks. Garrett already has 13.
Right. But I mean, you gotta read some of those forced fumble
And
stats because he did. My man
so
Donald
now
did have.
Aaron Donald only had four. Now I didn't put that purposely. I will be honest because Garrett don't have any this year.
Right, because Aaron Donald is amazing at that. That's his
He
number
only
one thing.
had 4 that year though.
Still though, that's
That is a
those
lot.
fumbles.
But now
That's what he's good at.
Garrett hasn't got much this year, but he averaged just 3 a year. But I'll be honest, you're right. I did leave that one out. Aaron Donald does beat him with the 4 forced fumbles. I think they recovered 2 of those, or he recovered 2 of those.
Mm.
That's the only stat he's beating him in. Everything else, he's basically out the water to Aaron Donald's defensive player of the year season.
No, you know what? I agree with you. That's an amazing season.
Cut away, not even close. He could literally play average rest of the season and still beat everyone else.
I'm gonna be
At this
honest with you,
point,
that's
Trayvon Diggs is honestly hopping over Aaron Donald because of those picks. But for me, no one comes close to Myles Garrett so far.
mm,
My pick is still the same pick.
oof. I mean, he's having an incredible year, especially with the stats that you read off. I mean, this could be a historic season if he keeps it up. The reason I think that people are really sleeping on him is because the Browns are doing so bad. The Browns are trash, and not only that, but the way that they're losing games like with 40 points on the board, and when you have that
They just got scraped by the Patriots and Mac Jones. So yeah,
44-7, so like when you got the opponent throwing up 40 on you, I don't know if the writers are gonna want to give the award to I know it's an individual award, it should be about stats. Is a
still
defensive player.
in the rankings as number one. And he's a favorite by a little bit.
Yeah, right now,
So
right now he is the favorite to get it. I
for
think
sure.
that Trayvon Diggs definitely went up. Right?
I
In
think he
the
wants to
beginning of the week, it was Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, then Trayvon, and I think Trayvon moved up above Aaron Donald to me this
because of
week.
that pick.
And to me, I think it moved him up 2 spots. I think he should be above Myles Garrett just because the thing that interceptions really changes games. I know sacks does too. Sacks is huge. Sacks are very huge. Like they definitely change games. And I just think that the way interceptions do, especially if you get one every game, like each game, like on repeat, you kind of like used to this guy getting interceptions and you're still throwing his way. It's a
Mhm.
problem. Well, now quarterbacks are going to be, scared to throw that way. With Garrett, I think that he definitely has a chance to get it. You could be right on this one, honestly. You definitely could be right because it's a lot harder to get interception.
Games is basically 22 sacks, and that's
I
just
mean,
like
I
you.
agree with you.
That's not like it is hard to get a sack a game, but
I
he's
agree.
he's
I just
average.
feel like it's a lot harder to get interceptions than sacks.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So if he keeps up on this level, my man Diggs could end up with 16 at the end of the year, which
So
is
I
unheard.
wouldn't say 10 because we're 10 games
No, no, I'm
in.
sorry. I think
This
it's like
rate,
they
he
said
could
like
easily get
15.
14.
They said he could
At this
average
rate, he could
15.
easily get
Yeah,
14. Yeah.
if he's on the
Another
same.
6 for 7 games left. Another 6 picks is definitely what he's averaging close to. So I could definitely see another 13, 14 total interceptions, and still that's fucking
And
amazing
that's
as well.
Deion Sanders numbers. And then you look at
Exactly.
Deion category, who had 13 in the season one time, and I think 14 was the record by your man on the Jets. Man, I'm
Yeah.
forgetting his name.
Revis.
Thank you. Yep, Revis.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I agree.
But
But
it's
yeah, I
harder
think
for.
Miles is gonna come away with it though.
I feel like it's harder for DBs to get the award than it is for middle linebackers or just deep.
Linebackers and linemen have way more stats to offer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, more tackles. Yeah, I mean, for sure.
It's those 8 picks that even got that man in the conversation. And like you said, they about to stop throwing his way really soon.
Yeah, no, honestly, you kind of changed my mind. Like, especially once you read those stats, those are historic stats. And honestly, I might, it would be tough for me to vote against him looking at his stats.
Defense that gets a lot of time on the field.
Right. That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so I think he's gonna do his thing, but hey, obviously it can't be a who you got episode without us disagreeing
No,
on one thing.
right. We got
Uh,
to debate one at least, right? We got to debate one.
exactly. So it was great conversation. Great way to wrap up some of the hot topics of the week, man. Obviously mid-season, we definitely gotta go over some of those awards, see who we got, see how they're doing. Soon we could. I think we did one more award. Probably we can go see Offensive Player of the Year, but I'll
Offensive
be
player of the
honest,
year.
more than likely that's gonna go to someone on the goddamn Rams. Between
Honestly, the way
Stafford and
it's
Cup,
looking,
I
yeah.
don't know how you can get anybody else.
Honestly, I'm just gonna say it right now. I think it's going to Cup, and I don't think it's going to Stafford. I
That's
think it's Cup.
fine.
I
It
think it's
has to
Cup.
be Cup. It has to be clear leader in that offensive player of the year, but
Yep.
we'll talk about that next week.
We
See
can
who
still
else.
talk about it next
We'll
week.
go look at that. See who else has to offer something. Maybe Jamar Chase might got a little something to offer. So we'll
True.
see. We'll see.
True.
Obviously, like
I mean,
some
if
of those
Henry was still
receivers.
here, man, if Henry, it would have been a debate. If Henry was still here.
Yes, exactly. So we'll definitely see 10 games. Then we got a lot to talk about still when it comes to the rest of the season. But let's talk about next week's game. A couple of matchups we want to talk about. Obviously, three prime times. Then we chose, 1 or 2 games that we really want to discuss.
Right.
So let's just go right into it. First game on Thursday coming up this week: Patriots versus Falcons. Obviously, we just talked about both teams. One got an impressive win over a defense that we just talked about, highly touted Browns defense with Myles Garrett. And then obviously one got destroyed by their complete Cowboys team. For me, this is a game of bad versus worse. Probably not another great game to start off Thursday with, but I think
Oh.
with the Patriots being a little impressive lately, they're gonna have a good showing. I don't think they'll run away with it. And at the end of the day, they are a little inconsistent. Matty Ice isn't the biggest bum in the world, and like I said, with Cordell Patterson and his versatility, he might do a little something. But that Falcons defense has been ridiculously inconsistent and terrible lately. And obviously, New England's going to rely on their run. Had a great running show last week. And then obviously, that New England defense is still top five, suffocating quarterbacks and really making it hard for them to breathe. So I think it's still, Mac Jones might have dropped 44, having a great game, but I don't think he's going to come on and do that again. So I give it a 27-20 Patriots win. Um, One
There we
touchdown
go.
game. I definitely think that Falcons come out surprisingly, put a little bit on the board with that versatility that they can get Cordell going. But either way, I definitely, like I said, I think it's bad versus worse. Patriots are bad, Falcons are worse. Bad wins. So that's what I got it as.
That's interesting. I mean, honestly, I don't see it that way. You got it very close, and I don't trust the Falcons anymore this season. I can't trust
I
them.
don't, but hey, what I've been seeing lately, I've been seeing a lot of teams just
That's
recently
true.
coming, having a good week after a really embarrassing loss like they had last week. I expect
That's
them to
true.
come up with a game plan and hopefully, I'll be honest, you might be right. It honestly might be 27-14.
I mean,
But I will give them that one extra touchdown and just say, I just think Matty Ice just say no more.
yeah, he's
I mean,
capable.
one
He's
good game and
capable of
he
getting
is.
touchdowns, but I mean, just the showing that they had, I can't like trust them at all. And I mean, the Patriots have been looking good the last 5 weeks. They're on a 5 game winning streak right now. I mean, if you look at them right now and as a hot team, they're probably one of the hottest teams right now. And like you just said, their defense has been playing amazing. Like they just finally started playing incredible. Obviously, you know, my man Bill Belichick's a defensive coach, and he wants this team to be known as a running team and a defensive team. And Mac Jones has been honestly throwing the ball very well, though. Like he's in the pocket, he's not getting sacked that much. As a rookie, that's one thing that you got to worry about because most rookies kind of hold on to the ball a little bit longer. But he's been actually throwing it on pace very well. He's getting over 65% passing, and I think he's going to do that same thing here. I honestly got this game a little bit higher score because I think he's going to throw the ball on that Atlanta defense. I see the Atlanta defense as being very weak, and you saw what C.D. Lamb did against them, and obviously Dak Prescott. And I could honestly see the same thing with the Patriots. I could see one of their guys. They run mostly a two tight end set, but I could see one of their tight ends getting like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I would not be surprised if that happens. And I think for me, Mac Jones is going to get 300 yards this game. I think this is going to be 35-10. I think they're going to scrape Atlanta.
No, I definitely hear you. I do. It more than likely is going to be a scraping, but these upsets been killing me lately, so I think I
It's a
want to
lot
be a
of
little bit more
upsets.
game.
A
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
upsets.
I
Yo,
think
for
the
real.
Patriots win, but I'm gonna say the Falcons put up just a little fight after that 3 point absolute horrible showing they put out last week.
I hope they
But
do
either
too.
way,
But
That's just how the Thursday night game is going to come off. Obviously, Patriots should be on a 6 game win streak after that. And then we should pretty much move on to Sunday, which we got pretty much the bulk of the games. So Sunday night prime time goes down to Steelers versus Chargers. Um, Chargers have been hard to trust lately. The Steelers have been even harder to trust, and they
Right?
still might be without Ben. So at this point, I think it's going to be a 26-17 win for the Chargers. Herbert should be able to throw over that secondary. So as long as he does what he's supposed to do, both teams really have been looking too good either way. But obviously, Steelers just looking like dumpster fire. Have no identity, like I've been saying all season. And like I said, they might even have Rudolph starting without Ben. So even then,
Yeah.
there's nothing indicating they should win this game at all. So that's not really a game I feel like there's much to talk about. Let's just see what the Bolts have to offer. Hopefully, Herbert shows his potential. Like I said, he should be able to throw all over the secondary, and they should be able to walk away with that win for sure.
I'm gonna be honest, man. At this point of the season, I'd rather see Mason Rudolph out there than Ben Roethlisberger. Because Ben
Yeah,
Roethlisberger, he looks like a statue in the pocket. He does not move at all, and he literally the way he falls, his whole body falls like he doesn't like fall like all cautiously like other quarterbacks. His whole body falls on his shoulder and like on his back, and when he gets up, takes him like 20 years to get up. But I mean, this game is going to be interesting to me just to see what the Chargers come back and do. Obviously, they didn't play that well last week, and they need to come back and start playing better. Keenan Allen, he was a little bit injured last week, so this week they're getting him back at 100%. They said he already practiced. Obviously in the beginning of the week, Monday and Tuesday. So hopefully this week he should be 100%. And they got two good receivers there, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. As long as Justin Herbert can throw it up, to them, then they should be scoring a lot of points. You would think, especially having a guy like Eckler who can catch it from, catch
right.
screens and can definitely catch the ball. He usually gets around 5 receptions a game, easy. So if they do that again against a team like Pittsburgh, I think that's going to be a problem for them. They've always had problems against quarterback, sorry, running backs that can catch the ball from the quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
That's what has been a problem for the Steelers this year. And I do think that it's going to be a problem for them to score points. They got James Washington last week to score a touchdown, and they still got Juju Smith-Schuster, but it's going to be tough for them to score points. I feel like the Chargers defense is going to step it up this week, and this is going to be a lower scoring game for Pittsburgh. I feel like this might be in the lower 20s, maybe like a 24 to 20 game.
No, yeah, I definitely say close to that. I gave him 17, probably 2 touchdowns on the board, with a little bit of a dynamic rushing attack. But other than that, yeah, not much to offer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it's Rudolph, I see it higher scoring than if it's Ben. I could see this being 24-7 or 24-10. But with Rudolph, I give him more of a chance. Isn't that crazy? Like, not with
So
the Pittsburgh. It's not
it's
crazy,
not
right? It's not
because
crazy. Like,
looking like a relic out there. After this year, I don't expect any team to sign him. This is his last year for sure.
I think he'll retire. I think
He
it's
has
time.
he has no choice
Yeah.
for sure. So the third primetime game we got this week is Monday night, wrapping up with the Giants versus Bucks. Bucks has lost 2 straight now against 2 bad teams. Giants, I believe, have Saquon looking like he'll come back, even though he probably won't get, his 20 plus snaps a game. They definitely should at least allow him some time to play. Uh, None of that means the Giants will win. At the end of the day, it's the Bucks versus the goddamn Giants. I'm definitely not about to, especially with Saquon not even being 100%. Um, and I'll be honest, I know Tom Brady hate the fucking Giants. Like my man is not about to go out there and lose against the
That's what I
Giants.
was thinking right
Um,
there.
and Jones is injury not injury prone, is turnover prone. So like it's gonna be a 31-20 win the Bucks. Bucks aren't that impressive. I feel like they're gonna have to do a little bit more. So we'll be a decent showing when it comes to how the teams compete against each other. It's not going to be a blowout, but either way, Bucks obviously have the personnel to come out on top. Especially like I said, Saquon's not going to be 100%, even if he does come back, which I do think he is. But besides Saquon, what else do the Giants have to write off? They have absolutely nothing else. So at the end of the day, Super Bowl champions will be coming away with a win, which is obviously well needed. Like I said, they just lost two. I promise you, they're not about to go lose three in a row, being that third game to the New York Giants. That's not about to happen. So 100%, 31-20 win Bucks, and that's what I got for the last primetime game for sure.
So honestly, I think I agree with you 100%. 100% with everything you said. I know, right? No, I mean, one big reason I do think that the Bucks are going to win this week, is because they're getting back Rob Gronkowski and they're getting back Antonio Brown. Both of them are going to be
Yep.
coming back. So I think that the offensive attack is definitely going to be huge, and I do think that this is a big game for the Bucks, kind of like what the Bills needed this week, a big showing against the Jets. I think that the Bucks are going to have a big showing against the Giants. They're going to need something like this, a statement win where they went with their offense and their defense. I honestly see them playing really well defense against the Giants. Like you said, Tom Brady hates the Giants. He doesn't like them. He lost twice against them in the Super Bowl. He wants to beat that franchise every time he plays them. And I think that the defense is definitely going to be stepping up just because, like you said, when they play against quarterbacks that give up a lot of turnovers, then the defense usually plays harder, because they're always trying to eat. They're trying to get one of those turnovers. So I think both.
Back and forth, pretty nice stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is going to be a huge game for Tampa Bay, a statement win. I got this one a spanking. I think this is going to be 40-14.
Yeah, there's no way they're losing three in a row.
No,
They lost
especially
to
not
the
three
bad
bad
teams.
teams. Three
They're
bad
not. Yeah,
teams.
they're not losing three in a row to three bad teams. It's not happening. So there's no way the Giants come out with this win. Literally, they might as well sit and play coming back down, chill another week.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't even
honestly,
spend no.
the last one was a sure thing too, though. I mean, against Washington was a sure thing. You never know in this NFL, but the
Yes,
Giants don't got that defense like Washington.
they don't at all. At all. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, Giants are below average on both sides of the ball. At least Washington got a defensive out with a
Exactly.
very good front seven. So yeah, I'll
Right.
give them that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the three primetime games, but obviously we'd like to talk about a few more games. For me, the next game I want to talk about is honestly going to be the game of the week, and it was such a hard choice to choose between, especially after the showings both of them had last week. Cowboys versus Chiefs. Man, it was so hard for me to choose a winner. Basically, both teams had impressive wins last week. Obviously, offense for the Cowboys have been a lot more consistent than the Chiefs. Same with their defense. But at the end of the day, Chiefs came out last week and showed who they are and who they have potential to be. I think this game is a shootout. Um, I think it's a one possession game, a 3-point game, 40-37. Um, I want to give the Chiefs a slight edge because of home field advantage. But I cannot back up the boys. And this is not me saying like, oh, the Chiefs haven't shown me like after last week, I'll be honest, any other team they faced this week, I would have said Chiefs. But this week, because of how consistent the boys have been, I gotta give a 40-37 fucking shootout
Wow.
in Kansas City. But the boys will be walking away with another impressive away game. They love to win away. They're very good on the road. They have been, like I said, they have a way better defense than the Chiefs' defense. At the end of the day, their defense, I don't think, has enough to stop the Chiefs' defense. Don't have enough to stop the boys. Obviously, the Cowboys' defense aren't going to stop Mahomes and company. But it's just to me, it's going to be a shootout, and I feel like the Cowboys just have a little bit of an edge to come away with that 3-point win. So I definitely think it's going to be a very tight game. I'll be honest. I originally had it 40-34. But like I said, that home field advantage does play a little part of playing in Arrowhead. So I definitely give it to them when it comes to a tough game. But like I said, any other team, I would have picked the Chiefs this week. They definitely shut me up last week and made me hold my tongue, letting them know they still here. But The boys are serious. We had a conversation a few weeks ago. Are they real contenders? And I think they are. And I think this week they have a chance to beat the AFC defending champions.
Yeah, the boys are real contenders for sure. Cowboys, they've been playing pretty well. Especially like their defense has been definitely stepping it up for me. I wasn't 100% on their defense all season, but other than Trayvon Diggs, really. But now seeing them, playing pretty decent football, overall, I'm definitely starting to like their defense more. They're still not all the way consistent for me. They're still allowing some things. I still got to see them against some of the top teams because that's the one thing that I noticed the Cowboys struggle against this year is the top teams uh, that they play against. They always have trouble against, and this is definitely going to be a shootout for me too. I definitely agree with you there. I think that this is going to be one of those games that you're not really going to have much defensive play to me. There's not going to be many sacks, many turnovers for me. I think this is going to be one of those shootouts where it's not going to be many punts either. You might get like three to four punts the whole game. I do agree with you that this is going to be uh, in the high 30s, maybe even in the 40s. This game, and I think I need to see a little bit more from Patrick Mahomes, like I saw last week. I want to see the passing game be consistent, like it was last week. If he's able to do that, I got no issue picking the Chiefs, and I am going to pick them because I like what I'm seeing from their defense a little bit more, like the last few weeks, and I don't think they're going to need to use them as much. This is week. They're not going to need to use their defense as much. The offense is going to need to play amazing, and you saw that they have the guys, they have the talent to score 5 touchdowns on offense like they did last week. So I think they could do the same thing. I think this week they're going to score another 5. I'm not sure if it's going to be 5 from Patrick or a few of them are going to be Russian, but I do think that Patrick Mahomes is definitely going to have like 3 touchdowns himself. And this is going to be a statement win for the Chiefs for me. Like you said, it's going to be a statement for Cowboy. I think this is a Chiefs. The Chiefs need this a lot more than the Cowboys as well. So they're going to be way more pumped up to play, especially at home. You got the home crowd, roaring. A big game against the Cowboys. It is going to be the game of the week as well. So for that reason, I got this one honestly 41-38, but I got it the Chiefs.
No, I definitely think it's gonna be a real close game. I just, for consistency reasons on both sides of the ball, I have to, and not to mention they actually have been playing really good away
Yes, no,
lately. So,
I think they're the best. Their best away team is the Cowboys. You're right about that. You're right about
so
that.
I want to give them that little edge. And if it wasn't if it wasn't at Arrowhead, I would have took Cowboys. Um, just because it is at Arrowhead, like I said, I really struggled.
I think,
But like I'll be honest, I wouldn't even care. Like, seeing the Chiefs win, I wouldn't be disappointed. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's gonna be such a close game in such a big shootout. So
yeah,
definitely agree on what you're saying. Obviously, we just have the 3 points going to either
right. I
team.
mean, it
Pretty
could go either way. This is a pick 'em game, really. I mean, it could go down
much.
to the last possession. Whoever really has the last possession could win the game in this type of game. But for me, like I said, I don't think the defense is going to matter much in this game. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, and just for that reason, I just think that Arrowhead, like you said, the Cowboys are probably the best away team, but the hardest place to play in the NFL for me is probably either Green Bay or Arrowhead, and they're playing in one of the toughest places, and they're definitely going to get their hands, full this week.
For sure, for sure. So that's obviously going to be a good game. Another game the last game I want to talk about is probably another pick me game or pick 'em game, but it's not necessarily going to be the best game. But it's going to be Packers versus Vikings.
Mm,
Always a good matchup when they obviously meet. We got a Aaron that's back, but the key piece is Aaron Jones, looking like he's not going to be there.
there, no.
So for me, that is honestly the biggest piece ever because as much as Aaron's been playing MVP caliber football, that running game and them relying on Jones was the reason why they were able to be so successful this year. So pretty much with them missing Jones, even though the Packers defense is a lot better than they were last year, I still don't think they have an answer for Cook. With them missing Jones, with them having no way to stop Cook, and with every game this year for the Vikings, win or loss being decided by one touchdown or less,
Mm.
I think I'm gonna give the Vikings the edge on this one, on a 24-21 game. Now I know, like, come on, picking against Aaron Rodgers when he actually came back. Now, mind you, he didn't look that great last year or last week. But my thing is no Aaron Jones. If the Packers cannot establish a running game and they can't stop the Vikings running game, I think the Vikings can pull away with a 3-point upset. At this point, obviously, the Packers are the favorite to win. This was another one that was hard. I actually had the Packers for a while. But like I said, that no Aaron Jones just didn't sit right with me. And I'll be honest, the last time Cook met up with the Packers, he absolutely
Yes.
cooked
Yep.
basically.
You're right about that. You're
Um,
100% right.
destroyed them. So I know they're gonna try to tone in on him. Um, and hey, like I said, Vikings are just kind of struggling on their identity, but they're giving up games with like one touchdown or less. So I think they'll find a way to keep this a close game. And like I said, without having no Aaron Jones, I think they can pull out this little upset and end up winning a close game, 24-21.
No, I agree with a lot of the points that you pointed out there for sure, especially like the Dalvin Cook point. The last time he played against the Packers, he rushed like 140 yards on them, and he's always rushed good against the Packers. One good thing about the Packers is, though, I know they're missing Aaron Jones, but Collins actually played really well last week when Aaron Jones went out. Um, and I think that he's going to be their starting running back now. They're going to need Collins to step it up for sure. He's never been a number one, but he's going to need to be. You know, he's going to need to be their number one. He's more of a power back. You know, he likes to go down, rush down the middle. You know, find his gaps, and really put his head down and rush. You know, he's going to be a advantage being, you know, in the goal line. But as far as a juke cutter, they don't have a running back like that right now. They're just going to need to pass the ball more in this game. And the one thing about that Vikings do is they like to play high scoring games as well. Like if you look at a lot of the games that they lost, they were high scoring, and they did lose by like a touchdown or a field goal. It has been a lot of the games that they lost by only one possession, but they were higher scoring games, and I think this one might be as well. I think this one is definitely going to be on the higher scoring end. I do think that the Packers defense, their rush defense, will play a little bit better this game. I still think that Cook is going to get his 100 yards. The one thing for
Mhm.
me though is I've never trusted Kirk Cousins, never have, and
Nah.
I think he's gonna give up this game. Like it's gonna be one of those things where it's gonna come down to the fourth quarter, and he's gonna throw one of those interceptions that he usually does. And I think it, you know, it's gonna be a close one. You might be like you're definitely gonna be right about that. But for me, it's got to be the Packers. You know, they wanna stay above them in the division. You know, if the Packers lose, then they're only gonna be one game above them in the division, and they still got to play them one more time. So I think that, you know, this is a big game for the Packers, and they need to stay up in that NFC right now. Right now, I think they're second spot next to Arizona. You know, or it's between them and actually, I think the Packers are number one seed right now. If you look at the
Yep.
standings, Arizona is number two.
Cool,
So
because they beat.
because they beat them, right? That's right. So they do have that half a game. So they need to keep up in those standings. You know, right now they need that win, and I just don't trust Kirk Cousins. Never have, never will.
I 100% hear you.
Oh, and by
Like
the
I
way,
said,
my score is 24-21. It is going to be a close game. I just don't think the
same score
Vikings
you
are
just
going to
got
come back.
Packers. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. It's definitely hard to trust him. Just for me, it's hard to go against Aaron. But
Yeah.
not having Jones is so crucial. So
Crucial,
crucial.
especially for. I mean, we'll
I
see
think
what
they don't
happens with
survive.
him. I wonder if he's going to come back towards the end of the season. But like I said, like this is the first year Aaron Rodgers had an amazing running back, a good running game, and for them to lose
Exactly.
him, you know, it's tough.
Exactly.
It's
No,
tough.
for sure. I definitely agree with that.
But those are some great matches for this the week 11 is going to be amazing to watch, and some of these teams might pull out. You know, you're going to have some of the top teams pulling up above everyone, and hopefully we see what happens with the AFC. Like we said, the AFC is stacked right now with teams over 500. You know, we'll see a little bit of movement there for sure. And great episode, this one was a great one. We
Yes,
had a lot to
sir.
talk about for sure, a lot of
I
new
know.
topics.
Good topics, good additions midway through the season. I loved it.
There's a lot of stuff happening in the NFL, so we really appreciate you guys listening to this one. If you want to check us out on YouTube and Facebook, you want to watch the episode, please go there. And if you want to listen to it, go wherever you check out your podcast. And if you want to ask us some questions, please check us out on social media.
No, definitely. Like we always say, we love the support. We're here for a long run. We're gonna make sure we keep bringing you all the sports contents you love. Obviously, we got a few sports on our belt, so we're gonna make sure we keep bringing you all the stuff. As long as you keep telling us what you want, we'll give it to you. So we love all the support, love all the fans, you love all the interactions, and we hope you keep listening.
That's a fact. That's a fact, man. Playoffs are coming soon. Soon they are like
Mm.
for everything. And we get excited for playoffs, whatever sport it is.
Oh
But
yes.
we really
Oh,
appreciate you guys listening to Who You Got with
Mellow.
and Rado. We'll check you guys out next time. Peace.
Peace.